Welcome to the universe. What if I told you that you have the universe within? What would you want to explore? Well, you have come to the right space. This is the universe with Naomi Hoot. Are you ready? Welcome, beautiful universers, to another episode on the Universe Podcast. Today, I have the beautiful Katharina on the Universe Podcast, who is a healer, a spiritual teacher, a detox expert, and also the creator of the Happy Detox program. I'm so honored and grateful to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Naomi. It's been a pleasure to connecting with you and meeting you online.
Yeah, so how I met you was, I think, about 2-3 weeks ago when I joined the Oneness Festival, which was an online 3-day festival with over 60 different speakers that were attending this festival, where the topics were related to personal transformation. It could be business or tantra and all of these different topics that I'm super fascinated by and drawn to. So I signed up for it and I had no idea what to expect. And I was just signing up for all these different classes by different speakers, and that's how I actually stumbled across yours. And it was called, I think it was something related to detox in the emotional, physical, spiritual, and physical level. Mental, thank you.
Mental level, yes.
Yeah, so when I entered your webinar, there were so many things that you were saying, and it was like an instant resonating connection where I was like, wow, I came exactly to the right place. And then boom, a couple weeks later, this is happening, and I'm so excited to dive deeper into these topics because I have a lot of questions, actually.
Yeah, it's really funny, and you really stick to my mind, because you said something like, oh, I just expected to learn something about juice cleanses, and then I was blown away by the deepness of that topic and how everything is interconnected. And that actually happens to me all the time. Because of the name, people think, oh, it's just about juice cleanses, but it's not. I really do teach a completely holistic lifestyle where I put the focus on how all our different energy bodies are interconnected, because it really, the mental body does affect our emotions. What we think, then the emotions are created, and this in return affects our physical body day in and out. We cannot stop thinking, right? We're thinking all the time. So it's like we're constantly changing in our energy bodies. And yeah, you can, that topic is really, really deep, and we can go a lot, a long way here, but I will really try to give you the golden nuggets in this podcast.
Amazing. Thank you. Can I ask you, how did you actually even hear about Oneness Festival? Did they reach out to you, or did you reach out to them?
No, they reached out to me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and they've asked if I can speak, and I said, yeah, of course. And I really enjoyed it. It was a nice experience, and I'm looking forward for a lot more.
Yeah, it was, you overran the time, and I was like, please keep talking, though I need to learn more and more. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So I would love to know, how did your journey of personal transformation properly start and actually take that full course in your life?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of had a similar start like most beings on this planet, heavy childhood, lots of problems, traumas, I really do feel that all the souls incarnated right now, they just went through so much wounding and traumatizing, and they literally, every soul is more or less on a healing journey to upgrade their vibration. This is how I really feel. That's kind of the main theme of this ascension and energy going on right now. So everyone is purging in some way or the other. If it's literally changing an old belief system towards a new upgraded one, or if it's emotional purge, so you kind of start crying out of nowhere, and you don't know what the fuck, what is this, right? It's just so overwhelming, all of your emotions, they just spill, and you kind of don't know where it's coming from. And that's because of that ascension process. And for me, that ascension process, it started quite early. So in my childhood, I was sexually abused. I was raised by a mother, like like she was on her own. My father was never there for me. So I had like a very deep wound in my divine masculine energy. Obviously, this then just was projected onto all future relationships, because the first relationship you encounter, right, with your mother, with your father, that literally sets the imprint for all further relationships in your life. So that, of course, if that relationship is heavily wounded, then you tend to experience the same trauma again and again and again. And then these are the moments where you're like, why is this happening to me again and again? Right? I guess you had that as well, where you're like, how, like I promised to myself I will never do that again or attract a person like that, and then it happens again, right? So this is because you have that wounding in your soul blueprint, and everything in nature tends towards healing. When you cut yourself, it just heals, your skin just heals, right? You don't, like, it just happens on its own. So the same way your emotional body in these inner wounds want to heal, and that's why it comes up again and again. And there's like a golden saying, if you feel it, it's yours, right? So if you feel it, then there is a wound, then there is something you need to look at, right? And I would say we kind of like learned in society, taught us to just numb, not address all these emotions and wounds. And right now, because like the whole energy potential of the earth is increasing, we cannot numb anymore. It's like everything is just coming up to the surface, like the veil is being lifted. So that's why many people feel like overwhelm and exhaustion. And for me, this whole process just started earlier. So again, pretty wounded childhood with lots of abuse and stuff. And then that literally manifested in my young teens as anxiety attacks, depression. I took the pill for a month, and this completely screwed my hormonal system. So I got depression, anxiety from that, especially when you are like a highly sensitive person. That hormones, that those artificial hormones, they can literally wreck everything within your body. Like it really is so bad. And a lot of problems develop from that. Also like physical problems like constipation, like acne outbreaks, and like a very, very strong aggression. So I really had like regular angry outbursts and stuff. So it was really, I was a mess, like truth be told. And also I was around almost 20 kilos more than now. So obviously from all of that wounding and pain I was carrying, I needed a lot of protection in form of fat to somehow get along in my life, right? So and then with that on top, like all the females in my ancestor line had cancer. So my grandmother died when she was 46 years old only. And my mom was the first one to break it with 42. She was the first one to not die. And I told myself, like, I'm going to be the first one who's not going to get it. And this is how I started to like research at a very young age about health, detox, all these topics. I had like a very high intrinsic motivation to never get sick in the first place and learn everything I can, like how everything is interconnected, in order to never get that in a way and heal myself. So my motivation, or what I wanted to achieve, was to heal myself and finally become like that own master creator of my life, not being the victim of my own overwhelming emotions of, like feeling uncomfortable and like stuck in my body and feeling sluggish and low energy and being constantly constipated, So there were like many things I really wanted to work on. And I just got like great teachers along the way. So it first started when I was 13 years old. We got like a real, like an energy healer from India, like a real guru who was staying with our family, and he taught me meditation and energy healing when I was only 13 years old. So I kind of like, and I started yoga when I was 13. So it kind of like kick-started that whole process for me. But then obviously I I kind of like made a break when I was studying. I studied business and law and worked in different management positions in e-commerce companies. So I really had that 9-to-5 job. I'm not like a hippie out of the bushes and some sort, So I'm actually really a system buster in a way, because at some point I realized like, no, this is not my passion. My passion is to help people heal and to help people get into their into their power, and become literally the master creators of their own life, and to understand where their disease or ailment is coming from. Because that's what I teach like all the time. We are literally like a multi-layered cake. We think, okay, this is my problem. How can I solve it? And then we think there's like one solution and it's done. But it has different layers, and you have to break through all these different layers in your physical, but also in your emotional, mental, and spiritual body in order to get rid of that ailment completely. So I kind of like learned to go to the root cause, and that's what I teach in my program.
Wow, that was a very profound answer. There were multiple things that I picked up. There were actually multiple things that I picked up, and one being, I feel like what you're teaching is mostly about, what I can pick up from would be prevention instead of cure. So it's identifying at the root at an early stage to prevent something from getting worse in the future, right?
It is, I would say, like, if you're in that state of prevention, that's perfect, because it's always easier to prevent than to cure. But of course, obviously, like on the program itself, I had people with depression, with fibromyalgia, with cancer even, and they all got cured. They cured themselves. I'm always saying, like, I'm not the healer. I just help you heal yourself to become your own healer and master of your life.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. So it's actually for both. It is for prevention, but it's also for people who already have a problem that they want to cure.
And also another thing is when you said, because you had all of this trauma from an early age, you needed to protect yourself on an energetic level that then was conveyed through your physical body, which was through fat. So that was actually one of my biggest takeaways during your course. And that was the first time I ever heard that before. And for me, it was a major paradigm shift, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I can never get rid of my muffin top.
Exactly. And this is also like that's also like a big epiphany that I had, because I also came to a point where I was literally exercising every day, eating super clean, but still I couldn't get rid of that belly no matter what I did. And then I kind of like got that download from, like, obviously I did all like teaching, like shamanism training, Reiki, all of that stuff. And I kind of like picked through these decades of work that I'm doing this, I kind of like connected the dots and realized, like, very often when you have like this muffin top, or when you have like a belly, the emotional body is connected to your belly through a silver cord. So whenever you have like suppressed emotions stored up, it literally manifests as fat on your belly. And especially like the muffin top, it's also closely linked to the liver. So you might want to try a liver cleanse, darling.
I should do that, because I just recently did a 4-day water fast, and my friend actually recommended me to do a liver cleanse whilst doing a water fast, because that makes it easier, because you're already fasting and your body's already cleansing with water. And if you add a liver cleanse, it like works even better.
Yeah. I mean, that, like, of course, liver cleanses are very, very powerful. And, that also was like a huge stepping stone, or like a huge epiphany on my path of, like, I would say detoxification, or in the end, all it is it's alchemizing energy. That's what detox is. It's like when people think of detox, they think, oh, it's just like drinking juices and that's it. But that's not how I see it. I literally see detox as a way to alchemize energy, to kind of like increase your own energy potential by literally getting rid of all the obstructions that you have in your different energy bodies. And of course, like these cleanses, whether it's liver cleanse, colon cleanse, they are like very powerful ways to just like flush that stuff out in one go. And then you will immediately feel how your energy rises up, and you're like, oh my God, wow, I feel so different. So that was also like one big epiphany that I had when I did my first flush with my with that guru that literally started helping me with that healing. I was like, I felt reborn. I remember I felt as if I can like fly on little clouds, you know. I was like, oh my God, I never had more energy. I could hug the world. I'm so happy, you know. And then only years after, I realized like how deeply connected toxins, like literally physical toxins, they consist of negative energy. So when you have lots of toxins accumulated in your body, you naturally attract more negative thoughts and you have more negative
Mm.
emotions, because we like, you are a multidimensional being, so everything is connected, everything, you know. So when, of course, when your liver is clogged, then these toxins, they are consistent of negative energies that then manifest in like more angry emotions or like negative thoughts or like jealousy or all of that. And once these toxins are gone, it's less likely that you fall into these negative emotions or negative thought
Mm.
patterns. So it's all interconnected, very, very much. And the thing is, that's also what I'm saying, like most people, or the masses of the people on this planet, they don't know how good they could actually feel, you know, because they are used to that state that they need coffee and a cigarette in the morning in order to go to the bathroom, in a way, or they need their celery juice, you know. It's like, it's, we literally attach ourselves to these different, you know, kind of like methods or strategies to feel better. But who on this planet can really wake up in the morning and doesn't need anything and feels high vibe and wants to like kickstart the day and has lots of energy? I would say minimum of people have that, right?
Mm.
They first need their coffee fix in a way.
I think it's also the belief and the feeling that is attached to a certain type of routine in the morning. For
Yes.
example, let's say a celery juice, because I actually have a friend who had like sort of like rashes on the skin. And then once she started drinking celery juice, she actually believed from her core that this would help heal her. That
Yes.
literally, ever since she started drinking celery juice every single morning for the past 6 months, she told me
Yeah.
she hasn't gotten this rash anymore. So now my question would be, how closely related is the belief of the celery juice healing her to actually the celery juice having the properties to heal
Yes.
her? So that's
Yes.
really interesting, because it might be,
It is.
again, an attachment
Of
or a
course.
belief.
Yes, yes. And what like my take on that is that, you know, I always like, I also explained that at the Oneness Festival, like we work, the structure is like a pyramid. So in the very beginning, you have like the soul blueprint, then you have the mental body, emotional body, physical body. So that means like the energy goes from the more subtler realms to the more dense realms. And that means that actually like the belief and the thought alone that celery juice will heal her, that is literally like the ignition and the most important energy for her to experience that in the physical realm. Of course, like
Wow.
on, you know, of course, on the, like I would say, like on the physical level, of course it's beneficial for your health. But how come then other people, let's say, they say, oh, you know what, like I can eat and drink whatever I want and I stay like in perfect shape? Those people also do exist, and they eat like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, you know, and it's really actually not good for them. But because the mental body and the belief is more important than the action itself, they stay in a fit shape because they firmly believe I can eat whatever I want, I always stay fit.
Wow. Okay. I think I missed this part in the Oneness Festival because I tuned in a bit later. I want to mentally
Okay.
crystallize this pyramid. So, wait, the
Yes,
top of it is the soul blueprint.
exactly.
Then it's the
Exactly.
mental body, emotional
Yes.
body, and physical body.
Exactly. And it's
Okay.
literally the energy flows from the more subtler realms to the more dense realms. So obviously, like the soul energy is like ether, you know, it's like you cannot see it except like, of course, when you're like highly psychic and your third eye is open and you see energies and stuff. But it really is like that engine, the source. Like you would not live, or you wouldn't be able to project yourself into this reality if it wasn't for your soul, right? So the
Mm.
soul is literally the fuel for this avatar that you call Naomi or that you call Katharina. So without the soul, the body cannot live on itself, right? So that shows the soul is the most important thing. It's our number one, right? And then literally from whatever the soul wants to learn. And everyone incarnated here right now wants to learn something. We want to learn our life lessons, you know, we want to come from separation and darkness into unity and light. That's basically the process that almost every soul is going through, you know. And then we have like different learning lessons and like also karmic stuff that we want to go through. But in the end, it's all this process of shedding old beliefs and kind of like upgrading our vibration towards love and unity and acceptance. Because even like, you know, I always say, like, when people come to me and they say, oh, I want to lose weight, then you just have to ask yourself why. In reality, you just want to be loved and accepted, right? And you think that you will be more loved, more accepted when you're thin, or when you have your perfect body, or when you have your boobs done, or when you have whatever done. Then you think, oh, now I'm more acceptable, now I'm more lovable. But in the end, it's always about that. And what we often don't realize, you know, it's like we first need to love and accept ourselves first, like to a very, very deep degree. And that means loving our shadows, loving the not so pretty sides of us, you know, and finding like closure with them, where when we can really walk towards that path of like self-love. So again, let's say the soul blueprint, I don't want to deviate from that pyramid too much, but it's like, you know, as soon as I have one thread, I can just like keep on going.
Yeah,
So
same. No, for me, it's like I already have so many different paths that I could take from this as well, because like things always pop up in the middle and I'm like, oh, okay, note it for later. Okay, please, yeah.
So let's say with the soul blueprint, okay, you want to like really learn as a soul, you come into this existence and you really want to learn to like fully love yourself. And very often, in order to learn this and master this self-love, you have to start at the very end of the spectrum, because that gives you the fuel to progress quicker, you know? So let's say, like, if you want to experience real unity, then you have to start in like the most utter separation that you can imagine. So like foster kids, foster home kids, stuff like that, you know, those are actually the souls that really want to arrive at the other end of the spectrum, where they experience total unity with other people, you know, and like feeling completely accepted and loved by the universe and all others around them, you know. Or like, just to like share one of my examples, like that whole situation with my father, where I was like deeply wounded by the masculine with all the abuse. Actually, I want to learn to get to the other spectrum where I can trust the masculine again and trust my own masculine in a way and heal my own masculine wounds. That's why I chose this situation, you know. And then obviously when you are in that, you develop thought patterns from your parents, from your peers, from society, that you simply adapt. You just soak them up and you believe this is the truth, right? You don't question it because that's what you're being fed with. As a little child, you cannot choose what to believe, right? It's just being put on you. You cannot say as a 3-year-old, like, oh, you know what? This is kind of like bullshit for me, how you're living. Most often you just think, okay, like your parents are your gods. So if they say it has to be like that, you just believe them. And only when we grow up and kind of like start this awakening process, we start to questioning all these old beliefs that we have. You know, and very often, like this, all the beliefs that you have in your mental body, every thought triggers a certain emotion. If you think, oh, I am so freaking amazing, I'm so beautiful, that gives you positive feelings. You think like, yes, that feels good, right? But when you're like constantly nagging and saying like, I hate myself and I'm like the freaking ugliest piece of shit on this planet, how does that make you feel, right? But like, it's super sad truth, but many people talk like that to themselves. It is the truth, right? So
it's the vibration.
Exactly.
Vibration behind that thought as well that sets it out, and then that's all you tune yourself to see and to feel as well.
Exactly. And even like just when I said that, did you felt the energy shift? When I said these two sentences, it was like very different, right? It was like, oof, okay, you know. So and this like this heaviness that you feel when you're kind of literally marinating in your own self-destructive thoughts, they create all these negative emotions, because emotions are energy in motion and they try to teach you something, right? So when you see it like that, just see that your emotions, they just try to deliver a message. They are here to deliver a message. But what do? We don't want to listen to that message. We just want to numb it down with food or cigarette or like shopping or whatever your numbing mechanism is, to just not feel that, you know? So it really is very, very important to see that this interconnectedness of it all, you know?
I love what you said, how emotion is energy in motion. I think that's
Yes.
so powerful. And that's actually
Yes.
something that really sunk into me for me to digest, because again, it's a big paradigm shift when you see it from that perspective.
Yes.
Noticing that that is what emotion is. And it's very powerful, because then you can sort of see what that emotion, how it impacts your life. Because as also another quote, wherever energy goes, like wherever attention flows, energy flows.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Whatever attention goes, energy flows. Yeah.
Exactly. And then also noticing how that flows into specific reoccurring patterned emotions, and how that actually affects us on a level in our subconscious that is then constantly on autopilot, and how to break out of that autopilot as well.
Exactly. And also like even when you do that, like physically, all the neurons, they fire together, you know, like Dr. Joey Dispenza has a lot of amazing work on that. Like
Yeah.
neurons that wire together, like fire together, wire together, right? So we just need to like think the same thoughts again and again and have these emotions, and boom, it's forever wired. And that's why it's so hard for people to change. You know, that's why it's so hard for people to really make that change and become that new version of themselves, because they feel they're literally stuck in their own cage built with their own old belief patterns and old emotions, and they don't see a way how to break out of that. And again, like just like close that circle of that pyramid, when you then obviously have like all these low vibrational emotions and you feel it's just too much to handle, you need protection from them. And fat is then literally the manifestation of these lower vibrational emotions and thoughts. And you can even say, like, wherever the fat on your body is, you can even kind of like go back or reverse engineer what the suppressed emotion is and what the thought pattern is. For example, if you have like thick thighs and you cannot, like, no matter what you do, you cannot lose the weight on your thighs, it is resentment towards the father, or like a masculine figure in your life, you know. And that is really, really powerful to know, because I had like so many clients that were like, no matter what I do, I just cannot get rid. Like, I want a thigh gap, but I just, like, my thighs, they're just like so big, I cannot reduce them. And I'm like, yeah, but like, did you ever thought about this? And they're like, oh my God, that's the truth. Like, I do have some resentment and like grudges towards my father and then my ex and blah, blah, you know? So it really goes very, very deep in a way. Or,
Can I ask
also,
how is it possible though that it's energetically related specifically to the thighs? Is it because the lower chakras are blocked and then there's less energy flow there, or how come it manifests in the thighs? Is that
yeah,
just the
like,
way it is?
yeah, no, it's not. Everything is interconnected and everything has deeper meaning, of course, right? And I'd say, or like what was downloaded to me, and again, like, I'm channeling all that stuff, you know, it's just like knowledge that comes down to me. And what I got was that, you know, the legs, they literally, what do you do with your legs? You go forward in life, right? Like, you move forward. And very often as a female, we have to feel that safety, security from the masculine in order to allow ourselves to move forward in life. You know, it's kind of like easier for us to move forward when we feel that safety of the father, like that our father cares for us, he protects us. Because only when we're like grounded and protected, we can flourish, we can move forward and create whatever we want, right? So if we never had that protection and that safety, we kind of like internally have that resentment, like, hey, I know like I should have been taken care of, but I haven't. So it's all very much deeply interconnected, you know. So and
Mm.
then yeah, fat accumulates towards this area because your body is like, okay, like I need protection here. So if I don't have a father that takes care of me, then the fat protects me.
Mm.
You know? So it's like your body is such a super smart, intuitive machine. You know, it really is. It is a super suit, I would say. You know, cosmic super suit, and it has its own intelligence that the mind does not understand. And your body's job, first of all, is to keep you safe. You know, so when you feel unsafe in many areas of your life, and especially in your emotions, you will tend to accumulate more fat, like around to, because obviously when you bump into something, right, when you have fat there, it's less hurtful. So when you bump into an old suppressed emotion, when you have more fat, your body thinks, oh, you're more safe now, you know. And then
Mm.
again, very often we just like, when that emotion comes up, we tend to like numb it with comfort food, right? And comfort food very often also has like a lower vibration. And then when we eat that lower vibration, and obviously when you eat in like a low vibrational state and like hating yourself, you're literally poisoning yourself. Like you should never eat when you're emotionally agitated or sad or whatever, because what you're doing is literally poisoning yourself. You know, it's like,
Mm.
right? It's like this typical picture of, okay, breakup, and oh my God, I'm like, whatever, I will never find a guy like him again. And then this typical picture, getting an ice tube and then just shuffling, right? And while you shuffle, you literally feed yourself with all this pain. And how do you think will that manifest
Yeah, it's
in
also
your
the
body?
intention that is so important and powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
when I was in my retreat with plant medicine actually in Tasmania a couple months
Yeah.
ago, my biggest takeaway, I had a couple, but one of my biggest takeaways was that everything in life is intention. So
Yes.
even the way you drink your water, in Singapore we have tap water and there's chlorine in it. So I used to drink it thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is not that good for my body, and like chlorine,
Mhm.
like I can taste the chemical because I was paying so much attention to it that I was drinking it with the intention of a low vibrational state. So when I
Yes.
said that, when I was in Tasmania with my beautiful
Yeah.
sisters there, I was telling them, oh, the water here is so great. It's like spring water from the mountains. I love it. And Singapore, it's like chlorine tap water. And then they were like, hold up, like that is actually not the main factor of
Yeah.
the water. It's drinkable. The actual problem here is the way you are building your relationship to this water, and you're drinking it with a low
Exactly.
vibrational intention, and that's why it won't be good for you. But if you were
Yes.
to drink the same tap water with this very high vibrational frequency of, you know what, this water is still nourishing me, it's cleansing me, it's I need water, it's hydrating me, then you would create that high vibrational state whilst drinking that same water, but yet the molecules would then be crystallized in a different way. And then
Yes.
you're pouring in this light in you. So
Yes.
that was a huge, like, mind-blowing realization that I had. Like, intention is so closely related to everything, even just the water that we drink,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
also obviously the food that we eat, and then the way we talk to ourselves and the way we talk to
Yes.
others, and it builds up on everything.
Yes. Like I even speak about that a lot actually in my program, because you are 70% water, right? And I always give that example. You're not only water, you are a flowing river. Like your body is constantly changing. Right now, the body you have now is not the same body you had yesterday, and will not be the same body that you will have tomorrow. Your body is like a constant river flow of waters. So, and even your blood, the lymph, everything is flowing in your system, right, in this spacesuit. So most people over the years, they develop a more, because they have lots of branches in it. You know, animals leave all kinds of waste products in it, bacteria, fungi, all of that stuff. So the river analogy is actually quite good. So where you can literally, when you see yourself as a river and your job is to make sure to keep that river clean on a physical level, and this will then make it so much easier as well to just keep the emotions flowing, to keep thoughts flowing, then this will like free up so much for you and will immediately make life so much better. And again, like once you, and that's why detoxification is so important, to like literally clean out your river, make sure that it can flow, and that there's not a big branch somewhere in your colon that keeps you constipated, right? So
Can I ask you, so when you say detoxification, also related to the fact that you have actually a happy detox program,
yeah,
so what exactly do you mean by a detoxification? Because my initial thought, as you also
yeah,
remembered from the course,
yeah.
I thought it was a juice cleanse. So what exactly do you mean by it, and how can someone then introduce that into their life? And what exactly do you teach about it in the course?
Yeah. So for me, in general, I really do believe that we are divine beings having a human experience here. And everything that we're looking for or searching for is really already inside of us. We're never separate from the quantum field. We are in it. It is in us, and we literally just have to break free from all the barriers, all the old programming of the matrix society, of our parents, all that ancestor karma and all that we've been carrying in this life, and detox from that. And not only like physically detox and kind of like make sure that our colons are clean, our livers are clean, because obviously the body also heals itself, right? It's like it's programmed to heal itself, to detox on its own. But there are very powerful methods how you can just push that process a lot quicker and get results a lot quicker. But it also means like emotional detox, to really identify what are the emotions that I'm holding on to, that I'm constantly suppressing. And as soon as they arrive, I try to like push them down again instead of facing them. So everyone, I really do feel that every one of us has a lot that they are carrying around, not really needing that. It's not serving you, but still you're carrying that around. So it's literally kind of like, when I see people, I very often see like, oof, okay, carrying a big backpack of like old beliefs, all the ancestor stuff, or from the stuff from their parents that they're carrying, where they're like, just let that go, just let that go. Like for me, detoxification really is that process of letting go. And it has nothing to do with starvation or restriction. I really do have like a super abundant, high vibe, fruit, veggie lifestyle, where I just eat alive foods. And truth be told, like everything, like all my different energetic bodies, like the mental, emotional, physical one, also my soul shines more and more because I'm making sure to clean all the other energy bodies, you know? So it really is a process of letting go, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly the main problem that I can realize in myself, but also a lot of people around me in my life, how they have often the main problem comes from the lack or the unawareness of expressing how one truly feels on a deeper level because
Yeah,
of the fear of being too vulnerable, being
yeah,
judged. But actually,
yeah,
the whole reason is the belief of judging oneself. That's what I feel
yeah.
where it actually comes from. So,
Mhm.
especially during the lockdown in Singapore, we had like a 2-month lockdown. I really had this
Wow.
feeling that suddenly all of these things were coming up to the surface, and a lot of my friends were asking me for like, do you have any podcasts I could listen to, anyone I could actually have spiritual guidance from? And
Yeah,
I actually like I really really believe in what you just shared with me, and this was
yeah,
exactly what I was looking for on a deeper level, because
yes,
I've always realized that the emotional body, the mental body, the soul level is so
yeah,
deeply correlated to the physical
yeah,
body, and it manifests itself that way. So when I listened to your webinar, it's like suddenly so many puzzles just fell into place, and I was like,
yes,
that's it, that's
yeah,
exactly what it is. It's the expression that needs to happen, and also that
yes,
safe space, knowing that there are others that actually took that courageous step first, and being able
Yes.
to also connect with them. And therefore, like, I also just started your Happy Detox program, and I'm
Yes.
so excited to go on this journey because I feel like
Yes.
every single video is going to teach me something super profound that I'm just gonna
Yeah.
like burst from my heart, sharing to all my friends. Like, guys, this is what I learned today. Like, okay,
Yes.
so this is why we have this
Yes.
problem.
Yes. Knowledge empowers, right? Like you
Yeah,
just watch that and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is the answer, right? So that's literally like in that program, I literally kind of like compiled all of like the best tools and tactics and what I've learned over like literally 2 decades on being on that spiritual path, like I really had that, I would say, spiritual awakening 2012. And since then, I've been doing shadow work. And like all the work that people starting to do right now, I started that in 2012. So I'm already like 8 years in, and I know what works and what are the quickest way to overcome these things, right? These struggles. And I packed all of that in the program. But you're absolutely right. I really feel that like the collective is really waking up, and they
yeah.
do feel a bit overwhelmed with all of that stuff coming up all at the same time. They're like, what the fuck is going on, right? It's just,
And also
it's like,
2012 is a very interesting time to go to have started your journey. It was like the end of the
yeah.
world year.
Yes, exactly. That's when my old world collapsed, right? And then it's like, okay, surprise. And I do see, like, I mean, like my guides tell me that all the time, that this ascension will just continue. Like, with the virus, all that stuff that is going on with like Black Lives Matter, Children's Lives Matter, all of that stuff. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I can tell you, it's just the beginning. The energies will increase tremendously within the next years. The whole process will literally how can I say, exponentially increase until 2027, my guide said. So
Wow.
that's still 7 freaking years of purge. And that's why like this information is so important. And like all the souls that want to go through this and like in alchemize, increase their energy, they will literally become a completely new person. Like I can send you like an old picture of me, how I look like and how I look now. It's like, it's a completely different person. And everyone here is going through that same process of literally becoming your best version. Shine your light, because what you have to see, or what you describe, that everyone has so much self judgment and all of that stuff. Think about it. When you're being born, no one just lets you be as you are, right? Like no one just accepts you completely the way you are. From the very beginning, your parents condition you. If you're a good girl, then you get this, and like and cuddles and whatever and love. If you behave the way I don't want or I don't like, you are a bad girl and you need to be punished. So this literally leaves no room for you just being yourself as you are. It literally conditions you from the very beginning. And of course, this conditioning goes so deep. It has really, really deep roots. It's kind of like weeds in your garden, in your mental garden, that are so deep, we don't even realize we have them. We really
Mm.
don't.
Yeah, so for me, I realized that my trauma came when I was actually in my mom's womb. And I would have never expected that. But that's another story. There were actually some things that were really interesting that came to me whilst you were sharing about how the next 7 years are going to be a huge time for change. And also
Yes.
something that I connected to what you said earlier is that soul blueprint and soul contract. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting that all of our souls signed up to be alive
Yes.
exactly at this present time where there's so
Exactly.
much change happening. And also you mentioning it being the tip of the iceberg, it's
Yes.
like it's, it's like really like people that are slowly opening up to gaining awareness and raising their vibration are all going to inevitably work together to raise the collective energy
Exactly.
together.
Exactly. So you have like a few way showers that literally kind of like started that process earlier in order to then help others in that process, right? And
Yeah.
it is like how I see it energetically, we are really in a huge energetic purge. And the purge is especially when it comes to like truth and like clearing out old beliefs and patterns. Because right now, with like how the situation is on this planet, right, you have either you can buy into this coronavirus slavery system by the Matrix and just like follow whatever they tell you to do, or you break out and say, I don't believe in this. I create my own universe. I create my own bubble, because I realize like I'm literally the creator of my own life. And I want to shine my soul and share my gifts and make a living out of that, and make sure that I'm healthy, that I have a healthy belief pattern and not the limiting or like anxious belief pattern that society feeds me with. You know, you can choose. And I really do see that there will be like a huge split with the masses, the ones that literally go with the system, but like the system will just like break them down and create a slave out of them. That's just how it is. You can already see that, like going forward, right? And you have the ones that manage to break free, and they step up to that next level of themselves. And this is why all of this is happening. It's all just one big video game. And again, there are like many, many souls that are, this is freaking, like this is how my guides explained it to me. They said, everyone incarnated right now got a golden ticket. And I was laughing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, believe it or not, everyone incarnated right now has a golden ticket. There were so many souls that wanted to have this experience of this upgrade. And like how, like if you think back, like even just 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, life was completely different. Everything was so much slower, right? Like the days were longer. Everything was more chilled, I would say. And today, everything has to be like bam, 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 bam. It's kind of like you wake up and then the day's over and you're like, I haven't done anything. It's like, it just goes like this, right? So because everything goes so quickly, you also have to learn a lot more quickly than you had to 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or even 50 years ago, right? So that's why I'm saying like right now is the best time for learning. I'm pretty sure what you have learned in the last week alone is like more than what you have learned, let's say 10 years ago in a whole year, right?
Yeah, like currently, like a lot of my friends are telling me every week we meet up, they're like, Naomi, I feel like you've grown like a year by the time I saw you just a couple days ago. And it's true. Like the whole idea of time is really becoming, it's really interesting because I really feel that time is, it's sometimes I have these weird realizations. It's non-existent. Then I'm like, wait, no, it's non-linear. Then I'm like, wait, it's happening simultaneously. Then I'm like, wait, time is accelerating. It's just all happening at once. And it's just very interesting because once I realized, okay, but I'm just going to surrender to it, that is when I receive the most downloads. And what I feel is that it's years worth of knowledge and downloads happening in this very moment.
Exactly.
And I guess for me, I remember something you said in the webinar that actually I wrote down. I had a whole notes list during your webinar. And one of the things that I actually wrote down was your biggest shock or your biggest low and dip in your life is actually the biggest moment for soul realignment or course realignment in your life. So for me, this happened in 2018 when my boyfriend passed away. And when I went through the death of my boyfriend, and I'm 20 years old, so I was 18. I was 18. So when he passed away, he was 21. And for me, I really felt like his spirit or something was still always there and was in my heart. And I actually feel like up until today, and I really felt like something from him just really went into my heart and is constantly guiding me throughout my life and is with me. But also I feel like it had to happen for everything that happened afterwards to accelerate. And it was sort of my biggest course realignment in my life. And that is when I opened up to the world of yoga. That was my gateway into this whole sort of stepping into the fact that I'm a divine being and that being the guide in my life. And that had to happen. And it's really crazy, but lately a lot of people have been reaching out to me to be on the podcast because they were like, I'm ready to share my story. And it turns
Yes.
out that it was always something that happened in their life from 2016 to 2019 that completely shifted their entire life.
Yes.
Either 2012 or 2016 to 19. This is a pattern
Yeah.
I picked up on. And it was really
Yeah.
fascinating because it's like we are the ones that had to go through it earlier, for us to step
Yeah.
out of that earlier, for us now to be open to receive all this, to share it, and to help
Yes.
others like gain that awareness too, and to raise their vibrations too. And it's so beautiful knowing that we are also not alone, because at
Yeah.
first I felt extremely alone. I was the only one in my age that went through this, and I nobody that could relate to me, not even my parents could relate to what the death of a loved one in such a close life was like. And it was only when I went to India, I met my guide over there and had my first ego death when I did an eye gazing meditation session with him. And now that's why I'm also stepping out of my zone and changing the course of my life by now wanting to move to Europe to reconnect with nature. I feel like that's a very big thing for me. I feel like right now I need to be in nature. And if there's a second wave that's going to hit in Hong Kong, there's another lockdown in Singapore, there might be one soon, there might be one in Germany as well. But once I move to Germany, I have that opportunity to also just live in nature for a couple months. And I feel like that's so important and crucial right now in this moment, to remember that reconnection, to also be able to help and provide that source of like realignment for other people, just sort of pointing in the right direction. Yeah.
Of course. Of
And I
course.
guess
It's always a two-way street. So it's kind of like when you have epiphanies and stuff, it's not only you getting downloads and like packages, you're also at the same time uploading. It's always a two-way street. So you are also uploading your experience to the collective field for others to get that information, to download that information. And very often what I wanted to add with that experience of your boyfriend, death, like very often when you are so closely confronted with death, it is literally like a, how's it called, this passage of rites of passage, or how is this, I forgot the English term for that, but like that you first have to go through this in order to awaken. And especially like diseases like cancer, very often this is the case. Like my mom literally awakened while she was literally almost dying with her 6th chemotherapy, right? So like the soul very often needs these very, very dark moments and like these dark nights of the soul in order to make that switch and gain the momentum where you say like, okay, there's no more down again. The only way is just up, right? So very often, yeah, it's kind of like a pendulum, you know, when it goes very much to the one, it's like, choo, like an arrow, it brings you to that other side. So, you know, like the pain that you felt was literally like the arrow that you pulled back, and then once you let that go, it catapulted you into ascension and awakening.
Yes, and another interconnection that I realized when you were sharing, and in the course as well. So I'm going to sort of enter the final chapter. I know that we have so much to talk about, but one thing that interests me is, I remember in the webinar you mentioned how any respiratory problem might be interconnected to Atman, God. So the connection to Atman, or God. And one thing that fascinates me is this COVID-19 situation is actually a respiratory problem. So this realization I had when I was looking through my notes, I was like, wait a second, I actually want to ask you, what do you feel towards COVID-19, this flu, this virus, being related so closely to the respiratory system, our lungs? Do you feel like that is really closely interconnected to us losing that connection to Atman?
It is helping us to remember we're Atman. Because again, it's the same thing. It is the same thing. Like first, the fires in Australia. And literally, what are trees? The lungs of the earth. So the lungs of the earth were burning first. Ooh,
I just got shivers.
Deep. Yes, deep, right? You see how connected that is? Like Mama Gaia was literally, she was, oh, I also get like goosebumps all over. Do you feel it? Deep truth sharing, deep truth, baby. So first, Gaia was like, okay, that's how it is. That's what's to come. You know, first Gaia had to like literally purge the lungs of the earth. Then humans Then with the Black Lives Matter, what was his last sentence? I
I
can't breathe.
can't breathe.
Mm-hmm. See the interconnection?
I say that every day when I wear my mask.
Exactly. Exactly. And even a friend yesterday said to me, like, I have so much work to do. I cannot breathe. I get back to you once I have a breath. So it's literally, right? So it's literally, you see how like everything is freaking interconnected? It's insane. So it's these, like, how can I say, like every negativity in this world is trying to serve you. It serves you in a way so that you become aware, like, hey, I lost that connection to my God self. I lost the connection to Atman because of the system, because of masks, because of this virus, right? So I kind of like have to overcome that. I have to alchemize whatever is holding me down so I can breathe again, so I can connect with God again, so I can ascend, right, to my God self, to my highest God self. It's all very much interconnected.
Wow. And like what I also realize now is like, okay, the governments and the institutions and all are telling us to wear masks. And every single time I literally feel like I can't breathe. So
Exactly.
in a
Yeah.
way that is a form of restriction. And do you have any advice on how to, I mean, it is also a really controversial topic, like because
Yeah, yeah,
we
I
do
know.
live in systems, but I guess
Yes.
like maybe I can figure it out myself, just spend more time in nature.
No, but like, truth be told, like I always had a problem with following systems or like what other people said. Yeah, you too. I've always been a rebel, like since a very young age, truth be told. And I do think like it's just how it is when you're just like not willing to just accept like the status quo, and you know there's so much more, and like that it's just a feeling, like that inside feeling, I know that I can just be so much more than society tells me that I am, right? And it's like I really, like for me personally, how I see the situation, I really do think all you can do is always just work on yourself. There's no use in complaining about the system or like the regulations, or you have to try to find ways where you can literally create like an energy bubble, a universe on your own, in a way where you maybe have a beautiful spot in nature, then you have your high vibe friends, you know, and kind of like ask yourself, what am I subscribing to, especially right now? Like, what kind of relationship do I want to have? Not only with my partner, but like friendships. What do divine friendships look like? And everything that is less, I'm not going to subscribe to anymore. So I think this is the way going forward, where you have like a bubble and a community of like-minded peoples that are also like kind of like want to shine their light and live a high vibrational life. And then you eat from the garden, like stuff that you grow, or like support your local farmers, you know, just a very like a high vibe life, very close to nature and very much far away from the system. And obviously when you're like self-employed, that's of course the best way to share your gifts and make a living where you're not dependent on the system, because the system just wants to enslave you. That's how it is. Because also when you put a mask on, what is left of your individuality? You just become a number in the system. You're just a number. Person with mask 1, mask 2, mask 3, and so on, right? Like all
Yeah.
that emotional expression that makes you, you is being, you know, blocked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something I also really realize. And also the word matrix has been coming up a lot, and numbers and all
Yeah.
this. It's sort of like, and it's been coming up in my dreams where I was like in my dream breaking out of the matrix, and I wake up and I'm
Yes.
like, whoa, I just broke out of the matrix. And it's like coming up in my dreams as well, like
Yeah.
in the subconscious realm, where I'm just like, wow, it's even taking, it's like a, it was the majority of my dream, and all my dreams right now are related somehow to being in
Yes.
nature or being in a simulation in a matrix and trying to break out of it, or seeing it from a higher perspective or from a different perspective. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting because I dream journal.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, these are all these patterns, like what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. And you know, like dreams are very, very interesting. You know,
Mm.
they happen in the fourth dimension, and very often dreams prepare you of what's to come in this physical realm. So very
Oh.
often it's kind of like the pre-download in a higher dimension on what's to follow in this reality. So it's kind of like you already play that video game in the fourth dimension before you have to play it in the third dimension.
Wow. And also another realization was that, okay, if there's going to be a division and a separation, let's say in our society the next couple years, and it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, and honestly, the tension between the two is also going to rise because one is based on reaction, one is based on receiving. To me, it seems like just purely a war of consciousness. And now it's going to be interesting to what extent it's going to play out in the future. But all we can do, like you said, is work on ourselves. However, I am curious though, what do you feel like from your guides maybe, or downloads that you've had, or maybe from your channeling, what do you think, like, what do you feel like the vision is going to be for the next like 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? Like, what is something that you feel from deep within might play out in the future?
So truth be told, the earth already, like the 5D earth and this higher vibrational sphere that is based on truth and like unconditional love, it kind of like already exists. So it's in that hologram, you have quantum universes where you have the same earth vibrating in different states. And I do think that these people that do the work, all that purge, you know, on all the different energy levels in their energy bodies, they will ascend and they will experience 5D earth, although they are here on that 3D planet, you know. So there will be people that will literally experience heaven on earth. And this is what people say when they say like 5D living. But obviously those people who are not willing to do that inner work and purge all these lower vibrations, they will stay stuck in a slavery 3D matrix system. And their life will not be so pleasant. And that's why many souls will go as well. That was also like another download I got, that 2021, many souls will leave this planet because they cannot manage to do that upgrade. And then they say, okay, next life, I try to upgrade. Not
So there'll be sort of like a split world with different vibrations, and that will lead to the coexistence.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of
I just
like
got chills.
Yeah, and chills very often when you have truth, you get chills. It's kind of like a sign from the spirit realm. So yeah, it's like obviously there are like many different timelines, I would say, on that, and many spiritual teachers say like channel different stuff on what is going to come. But the thing is, like, God allows everything. Like, God allows cruelty as well as paradise, right? Everything is allowed to exist because that's unconditional love, when everything is just accepted and allowed to exist. So at the same time, there will, like, 3D will still continue existing, but it will be your choice on a soul level if you want to subscribe to slavery 3D or if you want to upgrade yourself to 5D.
And will there be sort of like gateways and ropes that lead sort of still into the ascension?
Yes, and that's this energy. What you mentioned, that it's, you realized it's easier when you surrender, because that energy, it literally pushes you towards 5D. And if you don't resist it, like, no, I'm gonna stay here in 3D, I'm gonna stay a slave in the system, then it's like you're just being pressed from all angles, you know. And that was literally, truth be told, like, I was in Bali almost 2 years, and when I came back to Germany, the first night I had a panic attack because I literally felt the energy of the German system pressing me. Like, I felt as if the walls just coming closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so like, the system is just so like, it literally, I couldn't breathe. It was just the energy. So I realized for myself, I cannot subscribe to that. I can never live in Germany. Like, I have to live in an environment like Bali or Kupangan or Costa Rica, where I can literally build that 5D living with people who also vibrate in a 5D world, you know.
Wow.
And this is, and you have to choose what you subscribe to, you know. So, and again, like, even the COVID situation literally forces you to choose. Because, like, in the lockdown, you have to choose, where am I going to stay, because I cannot move, right? Like, you cannot just travel the world. You have to choose a place.
That's so interesting because I just decided to fly to Germany, and that's also I actually wanted to go to Kopangan, but the borders are not open yet. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay, Thailand's not ready for me yet. I guess I'm going to go to Germany first, visit my family, stay there for a couple months, and then once the borders open or once I can get a work permit, my intention is to go to Thailand. But
yeah,
that's very interesting you say that. But what I wonder now is that maybe in these enclosed systems, is it still possible to be able to ascend, find that rope into 5D and build
yeah,
a community within these systems to then help the ascension as well and connect all of that over the
yes,
entire globe?
yes, of course. And like if you just think back 5 years, like 5 years ago, very few people were in the spiritual realm, or very few like life coaches or teachers, stuff like that. Very, very few here and there. You had like Tony Robbins, like the big names. And now it's like you have so many people wanting to help other people, right? They're just like spreading out of nowhere. All these people grow like mushrooms, you know? So there's a reason for that, because they are literally helping the people in the system to create little 5D bubbles for themselves.
Mm.
You see? So even if you're like closely in the system, you can still create it. Like, and just to give you an example, like even with my mom, you know, I told her, because she also like, she literally even works for the government, and she still has like 10 years left. And I
Same.
told her, like,
My mom
yeah,
too.
yeah, you see? And I told her, I'm like, Mom, you have to create your own bubble. And I'm like, she has like a big garden, so, and she was planting her own food anyways, but I'm like, make sure to plant your own food and only do stuff that you love, stay in the vibration of love all the time, you know? So we kind of like created a lifestyle for her where she can live that truth, right? But still, obviously, it's a lot easier when everything around you, the whole energy is like that, right? So
Mm,
yeah.
that's very interesting. Yeah, so for me, one intention I had with my mom was, Mom, we're going to do the Hoffman process together. She has
Yeah,
no idea. She has no
yeah,
idea what it is. I personally have no idea what it is, but I just know that the people that have done it around in my life, they said it was the most transformational like retreat they ever attended in their life. And also another thing I actually wanted to mention was the darkness retreat that you actually
yeah,
talked about. And I felt a calling after attending a webinar during my own meditation like 3 days ago. And when I placed my palms onto my eyes, it was
yeah,
completely dark. And in that moment, I had the realization, it linked me back to what you shared, the darkness retreat. It was the
yeah,
first time I ever heard about it, and I suddenly realized it's part of my journey too. And
yeah.
not just that, but the most like interconnected feeling I had on a very high vibrational level happened when I had darkness on my eyes.
Yes,
So it was
yes.
very interesting, and I'd love for you to share for that maybe next time in another
Yeah,
podcast. I know this
I
is
have a YouTube. I have a YouTube video of my 11-day dark retreat experience, like on
oh
YouTube. Maybe we can even link that, and
yeah.
then people can literally get the download, like the most important learning lessons from that 11-day dark retreat. It
Yeah,
is super powerful, super powerful.
I'm
It's a
100% gonna
catapult.
link it. Yeah, I'm 100% gonna link it. I think there's nothing better right now than to actually have these opportunities and to know about them, but to also actually take action on them and not just
Yeah.
observe the open door, but actually have the courage to step in. And we are sort of the ones to remind, like, you have the courage within.
Yes, exactly, exactly. We just need to be brave, you know, and then the universe always rewards the brave. This has always been the case.
Yes. Okay, so in the final chapter right now, would you like to
Yeah.
share anything that you feel like is right now on your heart and you would like to just share that with everyone that's tuning in right now?
So, like right now, like um, coming into August 2020, I do feel that many of us are literally on a crossroads of ending the old and starting something new. Like I have so many friends that are, for example, moving or like breaking up, or like literally they kind of like they really have to evaluate what they are subscribing to, you know, and it's really worth it to do that re-evaluation. Like, are you subscribing to a high vibrational 5D life that is based on truth and love, where you can just be yourself and shine your light and be accepted as you are and don't have to like people please or kind of like pretend you're someone that you're actually not just to be liked? Or are you like believing what you're being told by the system and stay in like self-criticism, self-judgment, always have that feeling of not being good enough, you know, now is the time to choose. Now is the time to choose to which party you want to belong. Like Feel Good, I love him so much. He said like, you can choose at what party to dance. Are you going to dance at the 3D party, or are you going to dance at the 5D party? And I'm definitely going to dance at the 5D party, and I think you too. So
Yeah.
it really is about that. It's always your choice, and realize like no matter how bad your situation may look like, you know, like how much wounding you have experienced, you can heal yourself completely. Like if I was able to do that, you can do that too. Like everyone is their own master healer. Sometimes you just need the knowledge and the necessary tools in order to go through that process. But that's why we're here, right? We just take people on the hand and lead them through this process because we've already went through that process. So yeah, you can do it. That's my finishing word.
That's so beautiful. And I think it's so powerful. I also feel like there's a big transition right now leading into August, a lot of closing of old chapters, starting the new chapter, and also entering it with ease and flowing with it. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Because literally that like the energy of resistance literally forces you to stay in that state where you're at. Like whenever you're stuck, the first thing you have to do is to accept and bring the energy of acceptance, because that, like acceptance, is love, and love alchemizes everything. So whenever you're stuck and you start to just accept as it is, you automatically upgrade the energy of that whole situation. But whatever you resist, it literally persists, and the universe has to keep you there, so you start accepting it, right? So yeah, don't resist, just accept and go with the flow, let it wash over you, purge, you know, and get the tools you need for this ascension.
And the tools are right here. So actually, also, if people want to actually step into the store and are ready to receive the tools regarding to your Happy Detox program, so I'm going to be linking it below. Would you like to just share what people can expect on a summarized version, and also where they can find you on different platforms?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I'm on YouTube and Instagram mostly. And obviously I also do speak at like workshops, and I do my own retreats as well. So I hope I can do my Bali retreat in October. Like it's, I just hope with the COVID situation that it's going to be possible, but I planned this and I'm going to manifest that the best way I can. But yeah, like I do, with that program, it literally is like an online program where you can sign up, you can go at your own pace. 24/7 it's available. You will also come into a group where you can connect with like-minded souls that are also all high vibe, glowing, you know, they support each other in like sacred sisterhood, and you will have like direct access to me. So I literally guide you throughout that whole process. And I mean, you had a look at the program. How did you like it? Like,
I absolutely love it. Firstly, the quality is amazing. I love the vibe of the website. I'm really paying attention to detail because I'm actually planning out my own platform. And then also, I love how it's structured, clear, and there are so many topics that I have been dying to know more about. And they're like, literally, it's like all the little puzzle pieces I've collected throughout my journeys in one course. And I was like looking at the titles, and I was like, I'm interested in this. I want to suck in the knowledge in right now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's literally the summary of like 2 decades of my own path and research, you know, all comprised and like densed up in that course. And it's absolutely beautiful. I create that in a way of a class. So we go through all of that together, you know, and I also have like a special discount for you guys. So yeah, you can just like click the link and then see if you want to enroll. Just do it, just go for it. Yeah, it's always like, I am a very chilled person, you know, there's like a money back guarantee. Like whenever you don't resonate with it, just send me an email, you know, no fuss. But like I really do think that you will learn so much, and it's literally like the knowledge that you will acquire that will completely break down all the old belief systems so that you can build a new belief system that aligns with your soul, with your highest path, So, yeah.
I'm so grateful that I even had the opportunity to get connected to you, because within just one webinar, I was like really sitting with everything you were sharing, and it was reoccurringly emerging throughout my daily life afterwards in different forms.
Beautiful.
And it's just really like, I'm so excited for everyone that is really open and ready to step into this path and to own their power, and to know that they have the tools right here to step into that 5D world and create their own reality. So for that, I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing, that you're being you, and that you're also taking the time and the energy to, for example, be on this podcast as well, and to share your light with the world. So thank you, Katharina.
Thank you, darling. Thank you for spreading so much love. I really feel like your heart is so deeply connected to your voice. So whenever you speak, like your heart really shines through. Like that's what I realized, like right from the start when I started speaking to you. So thank you for being here and doing this work.
And we will see you all probably really soon, because you know, you can always leave your comments, and if you would like to DM Katharina or myself, our links are below, and we look forward to connecting with you really soon again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
This is The Universe with Naomi Hoot. Tune in every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for another episode. If you haven't yet, please like, review, subscribe, and share. See you soon.